A new analysis from the New York Federal Reserve found that the rising stock market has put money in the pockets of young Americans.
It found that Americans under 40 saw an 80% increase in inflation-adjusted wealth since 2019. That includes members of the Millennial generation and Gen Z. Alicia Adamczyk covered this and more in her recent article for Fortune, where she's a senior writer. Good to have you with us. So tell us why the gains have been disproportionate, really, for this younger generation since the pandemic.
Yeah, thanks for having me. So what the Fed's report really got into is that, younger people tend to hold more equity, so more stock and more, their money more in mutual funds than older generations who tend to go into safer assets. And so just kind of knowing generally what the stock market did over the past few years, you can imagine how that really benefited younger people. And, that was really the big thing. Even with housing costs increasing, it was kind of the same for everyone. So it was really the equities in the stock market like driving most of it.
Yeah, you point out in your article as well that older Americans still hold a majority of the wealth in the country. So how big is that gap?
It's still very massive. I think one of the things the Fed was really quick to point out was young people held such little wealth before the pandemic that even though they saw this 80% increase, Americans over age 55 still hold 10 times as much wealth as them. So they, their assets didn't increase as much, but they held so much more that it's something like close to 90 trillion more that people over 55 hold.
It was interesting. The report found racial inequality has worsened. I think that might be surprising to people, given all the efforts to try and decrease that trend. What's going on?
So that really follows the same thing we saw with the how different age groups kind of came out of the pandemic. So white Americans, they just hold much more of their wealth in equities and mutual funds and just investing in businesses compared to Black Americans, who most of their wealth is tied up in, pensions, 401k plans, things like that. Still really good assets to have, but maybe more conservatively invested. And it was the same with housing there. Housing is on everyone's mind right now, but every group, pretty much saw the same asset increase there. So again, it's really the equities, the mutual funds, that kind of thing. And white Americans just hold so much more of those than other groups.
I mean, what does this bottom line, Alicia, portend for the younger generation, given the fact that the gap is still vast? You have these racial inequalities that are still very much in existence. How do things look for the younger generation?
Yeah, I think overall, it's a good sign, but it is, with the recognition of there's still a long way to go to kind of get the younger generation to kind of meet where maybe baby boomers were when they were their age. I think something else that's notable is, we don't talk about Gen X that much. That's, I think, ages 44-ish to almost 60. And that group really, did not see gains at the same rate as younger people, and they really don't hold as many assets as baby boomers. So they're kind of in this weird in-between place of maybe needing, to invest more if they can, things like that. I just thought that was really important to call out too, that we have this other age group that's kind of falling behind in both ways.
It is really important because you do tend to hear a lot about Gen Z. You hear a lot about baby boomers, but you're right. We don't often hear too much about the Gen X generation. All right. Alicia Adamczyk, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.